Here's a behind the scenes of how I created my non-AI doll. So I brought a photo of myself into Adobe Illustrator and traced it mostly using the pen tool. I tend to create rougher shapes and then adjust as I go. This is definitely the closest I've looked at my teeth and face in a while, so this was an interesting process. I actually used my Wacom tablet for this, which has a pen that connects to my computer, so I was also able to use the pencil tool in Illustrator, which allows me to just draw these organic shapes. So I did that for my clothes just to feel a little bit more flowy. So this is how I created the outlines of everything first. Now the bottom half of my photo did not include my pants, so I went on Unsplash and found a photo of jeans that looked like it could be my bottom half, traced that. In a moment, you'll see me use something called the wrinkle tool to easily add the creases where my legs bend. And then shortly after that, you'll see me working on my eyelashes, which was a little bit more time consuming than I expected. But I first used something called the blend tool, which you'll see to create a row of eyelashes. And then I do something called an envelope distort to try and get that arc shape. That didn't really work, so I undid that and just used the arch effect in Illustrator. Did that for both eyes. So a little time consuming, but looked good. I then added some highlights into my hair just to help it feel a little bit less flat. And I added some organic lines for the creases in my clothes and then changed the width of the lines. So again, they just feel less flat, a little bit more organic. And then I started coloring it in. So you'll see in a moment, I try something called a gradient mesh to add points of dark and light to my skin. This didn't really work. I didn't really like how it looked. So I end up undoing it in a moment. But here you can just see me coloring everything in and filling in all the lines. And then I start creating the packaging around everything and adding my brand elements and just designing the box. This is where I undid that gradient mesh and just went for a simple gradient instead. I pulled some of my own brand assets to use in the packaging to feel on brand for Amped designs. So that was a lot of fun. I love designing packaging, even if it's fake. And then probably my favorite part was creating the little icons for my tools of the trade. I just love creating custom icons. I do this sort of thing for clients all the time. So it was a lot of fun. For the notebook, I actually created a custom pattern for the little spiral. And then I just drew a line and applied my pattern to easily create the spiral on my notebook. And then I also created the Pantone fan book by rotating this shape a couple times to create that fan effect. You'll see here in a moment. And then I actually just used my business card file to add a stack of business cards. I then created the little divots in the packaging to give it that like plasticky effect. And then I added a gradient over some of these areas of the packaging to help it give it that packaging sheen. So there you have it.